Hello and welcome into the SouthCoast End Zone. I'm Tim Weisberg.
I'm Laurie Loss.
And we are here to recap for you and look forward to all the South Coast high school football action and kind of a crazy week last week. I know we said that after week one, but man, last week was a lot of surprises.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think probably the most surprising thing, well, maybe not that surprising, but just how much interaction we were getting on Twitter. I mean, people were really getting fired up for these games and
I got called out on a couple of my predictions, especially the Fairhaven prediction. A couple of people called us out on that, Buddy and myself picking Fairhaven to win.
But it was really fun to see the interaction between the local football fans and the writers and everything that was going on. And you had some pretty cool pictures up there.
Mm-hmm.
And were other people tweeting us pictures yet? I haven't seen pictures.
No, I haven't seen
any
from the readers, but I tweeted some photos of the mascot at Fairhaven and some of the Pop Warner teams there and the Fairhaven High cheerleaders. So I got there early and I took some photos before the game.
So if you can do it, then why can't they?
I think they can.
They can send us photos, they can send us videos. Just tweet them like you normally would. I'm sure you're all doing it. Just make sure you tag us in them at SC_varsity. And we'll be able to retweet it and get it out to all of our followers. So that's what we want to do. We want to make it very interactive. We want this to be your football experience.
Yes.
Even if you're not there, if you are there, whatever.
Yep.
All right. Well, how about Facebook? Was there a lot of Facebook interaction this week?
Not too much. I mean, we had all the stories posted on Facebook. We also had some of our picks posted on Facebook, and I had left off the Dartmouth pick, which someone pointed that out. One of the Dartmouth players pointed that one out. So just with typing them in, I left that one out. So at least they're paying attention, and also with the podcast, everybody's watching that. So
right. Tell all your friends. We put the show up on Facebook. We put it up on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So retweet it, put it out on Facebook to all your friends, share it, get the word out, because we're going to say some really stupid stuff. So you want to make sure that everybody hears it so you can call us out on Twitter for it later, right?
Sure.
They don't see, we just tell them that we say the stupid things.
And we don't actually say it. Well, we need Buddy here to do
that. We do it to get a rise out of them. See, we're way smarter than that. You knew Fairhaven was going to lose. You knew they didn't have a chance.
No, I thought they were going to win. I thought they were going to win. I was surprised. I was definitely surprised.
Just trying to cause a little controversy here. All right, well, why don't you get us started off with this week's first and 10?
Okay, first and 10, number 10. In a losing effort, Fairhaven's defense held DR to just 68 yards of total offense in the second half. Number 9 for GMB Voktaf, Trevor Amenya had a 54-yard rushing touchdown. Number 8, Nick Simonetti returned a kickoff 90 yards for Dartmouth's only score of the first half. Number 7, Kevin Blaze scored all 3 of Old Colony's touchdowns and had 19 rushes for 117 yards in the season-opening loss to St. Clement. Number 6, both Bishop Stang and Old Rochester had running backs throw touchdown passes. Colin Napton for the Bulldogs and Luke Save for the Spartans. Number 5, Darian Fernandez followed up his 6-touchdown performance with 11 carries for 89 yards, but no score. Number 4, Charlie McKeeman had a monster game for Bishop Stang, rushing for 100 yards on 16 carries and catching 3 passes for 18 yards in the score. Number 3, with the game on the line, the Old Rochester defense rose to the occasion, stopping the Spartans on a 2-point conversion attempt by Charlie McKeeman with 6 seconds left to preserve the win. Number 3, New Bedford had a balanced offensive attack with Mike LaJoy rushing for 110 yards on 11 carries and 3 touchdowns, and Mike Raposa completing 10 passes for 154 yards and 1 touchdown. Number 2, actually I had number 1 here. I skipped number 2. I guess I only had a first and 9 this week. Number 1 is with Case's defense focusing on stopping Fernandez. Wareham quarterback Anthony Abbott scored 4 first-half touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing, to earn Player of the Week.
All right. So that's a pretty impressive performance 2 weeks in a row from Wareham to get the Player of the Week both times. What's up, the rest of schools? You don't have Player of the Week?
Well, when you see how many points Wareham's putting up, it's hard to...
That's true.
We had 2 teams this week that didn't score any points in Fairhaven and Apponequet, so, it was... picking some of the plays of the week or the top 10 was a little tricky this week. So,
and we should point out too that this week on Highlight Cam we actually have the boss in.
Yes.
running highlight cam.
Hi.
So if you have anything that you want, just hold up your hand if you have
Jonathan
something that
Comey
you want us to put up on the
Is in the house.
All right, well, let's get right into this week's action. And speaking of Wareham, we'll get started there because this week Wareham will have their first road game.
Yep.
They're going to be at Apponequet at 4 p.m. And even though Wareham looks like they're firing on all cylinders, and Apponequet has had some issues, I think that all goes out the window when these two teams meet.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know Apponequet has won the last two meetings between Wareham and Apponequet. So, the Lakers are going to come to play again. They're coming off a tough non-conference loss in which they were shut out for the first time to a non-conference opponent in Bob Lomp's career. They lost to Fian, which, as most people know, Bishop Fian it is a tough team, in the conference and out of conference play. The big thing for the Lakers last week is they had 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and that really cost them in that loss. They fell behind 14-0 at halftime and never really recovered. For the Vikings, last week they just proved that Darian Fernandez is not the entire team. When somebody scores 6 touchdowns in one game, you could say, that player's the entire offense, but really they came out. They had Anthony Abbott scored 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing, which was great. He showed that he could, get it done through the air and on the ground. And even though Darian didn't score, he still picked up 89 yards on those 11 carries. So he was in the game. He was active. I think he had a 2-point conversion as well. But really, the Vikings just got up to a 35-0, start to the game, and then Case finally scored late in the game. So really, Wareham, they're getting the job done on offense and on defense. So it's going to take a lot for Apponequet to beat Wareham, even though the Lakers are home. And last year, Apponequet did beat Wareham 21-0. And I know that was on, I think that was a record-setting game for Nate Michael. I was there. Mm-hmm. So I think there's going to be kind of some redemption on the Vikings' part to come out and see if they can do that to Apponequet this year, on their home field. So,
but we are looking at what could be a fully healthy Vikings team for the first time. So
yeah, I know they're getting some of their guys back, and with Apponequet, they had a lot of turnovers, but like we keep saying, they're a young team, so we'll see how the matchup goes. Wareham will be at full strength almost. So.
And they seem to think, the Vikings thought anyway, that the 4 o'clock game time helped them out last week. That they felt the kids came amped up coming right from school. They're going to have to do it again.
Well, even earlier, because they're going to be on the road, so they're going to have to, I'm sure they're going to have to get out of school early in order to.
Right, because it takes forever to get to Apponequet from anywhere.
Yeah, well, especially from Wareham, too.
So that will be Wareham at Apponequet at 4 o'clock. Staying in the South Coast Conference now, we have Greater New Bedford Voc Tech is at Old Rochester. That's going to be a 5 p.m. game in Mattapoisett. And these are 2 teams that, that's another one of these SEC rivalries where they're always going to come and play tough with each other. Voc Tech was on the sore side of a game last week, but Old Rochester's looking pretty good. Yeah,
Old Rochester started the season off with 2 straight wins. And really last week, it kind of took, some late game heroics by the defense. With Old Rochester leading, Stang came down, drove down the field, scored on a Charlie McKeeman touchdown, and then they were trailing by 21-20, and then the defense, Old Rochester's defense, stopped McKeeman short of the 2-point conversion of the goal line. So that's how they held on. I think there was 6 seconds left in that game, and really that was the difference in the game was that the defense for Old Rochester. The Bulldogs rose to the occasion. On offense, Chris Demers had 2 touchdowns, and he was one of the guys that was pivotal in that 2-point conversion run, stopping that late in the game. So really, Old Rochester, they started the season off with that big win, at Martha's Vineyard, where they won pretty handily, and then last week they showed that they could win kind of down the stretch against a much improved Stang team. And for Voc Tech, really, the Bears had a hard time stopping Bourne. They gave up more than 300 rushing yards, and they only had 129 themselves. All of their offense came on the ground. And the big thing for Voc Tech is Corey Pont. He started the game off strong. He had a 51-yard pickup. It set up a 3-yard touchdown by him. But he got injured, later in the game. We think it's a separated shoulder. It looks like he's probably going to be out for this week's game against Old Rochester. So, he's one of their big guys on offense. And really, Trevor Minya is going to have to pick up the scoring load. He did have a 54-yard touchdown run against Bourne. So, this is a kid that can find the end zone, but we'll have to see, if he can actually.
I just wondering if that's how he got hurt.
I don't know, maybe. But we'll have to see, how really, the Bears get the job done both offensively and defensively. I know they started the season off with, a strong defensive effort week 1, and this past week, they had some poor tackling situations in that game. So, it should be, whenever these two teams face each other, it's always an exciting game. It's a South Coast Conference, local teams, early game, 5 o'clock, before the bugs come out, the mosquitoes, so.
Let's hope it's before. All right, well, let's move on to another SEC team playing an out-of-conference game this week. Fairhaven is at Hull on Saturday at 1 p.m. And after what happened last week, I got to think that the Blue Devils really need to step up and prove themselves a little bit here. That they're probably not too pleased with their performance last week.
No, it never really seemed like Fairhaven bet out of the gates in that game. They started the game off with that squib kick in the opening kickoff, and they recovered it. They recovered the fumble, but they were called for a penalty, illegal formation. They tried it again. They were called for another penalty. DR got the ball inside Blue Devils territory, just marched down the field, took 5 or 6 minutes off the clock, and ended up scoring. I know Fairhaven also had a couple turnovers. They turned over the ball 3 times, 2 on interceptions. One was on a punt return that actually hit a Fairhaven player. So really, mistakes cost the Blue Devils. Also, they were held to 20 yards of total offense, in the first half of that game, and really. You can't do that against a team like Dayton Rehoboth that, controls the clock. When you get the ball, you have to take advantage of that opportunity and move the chains. The big thing for Fairhaven is Jared Antel, their starting quarterback, ended up coming down with an injury. I think it was his right leg. I'm not sure exactly what his status will be, whether or not he'll play this week, but Christian Braga came in and replaced him last week. He was, solid. He completed a couple passes. He did have an interception, though. So we'll see who they have, leading the attack this week. And they face a whole team that had a win last week against South Shore Tech, 41-18. In that game, Sonny Hill ran for 2 touchdowns and had 7 carries for 143 yards. He also caught the team's only passing touchdown of the day for 24 yards. And Hull jumped out to a quick 28-6 lead at halftime. So Fairhaven, is going to have to get off to that quick start, to beat Hull at Hull. We've already map-quested it. It's a hike from here. It's about 70 miles from here, so it's going to be an early day and a long day for Fairhaven on Saturday. But if they can get off to a quick start, maybe it'll be a good day at the end of the day.
It's another one of those places too. There's no easy way to get there. You're either going to Weymouth and going back, or you're going through Hingham. And
on the map, it doesn't even look like it's like real. Like it looks like it's in the water. Like it doesn't look like it's.
It pretty much is.
Land. So bring your flotation devices, I guess.
But all you Fairhaven fans going out there, go a little bit early. You can ride the old Paragon Park carousel.
Good. And make sure that you send some tweets to @SC_varsity. Give us some updates from that game, and we'll be able to retweet them. I'll have my phone on me so I can retweet anything that you send to us. So we'll be depending on you for some of those updates.
Absolutely. All right, well, our next game is also Saturday at 1 p.m. That'll be Duxbury at New Bedford, and I don't know much about Duxbury this year. I just know that every year they're pretty tough.
Duxbury the other day beat Plymouth North 38-7 for their 28th straight victory. So that means they haven't lost in a long time. Last season, New Bedford also started the year off with 2 straight wins and dominated the competition in the first couple games. And then before you knew it, they faced Duxbury and they lost. It's going to be tough for New Bedford to beat Duxbury. The Dragons in their first 2 games have outscored the competition 58-14, and that's with wins over Bridgewater Raynham and Plymouth North. What Duxbury does on offense is they run a hurry-up, no-huddle style. John Hurwitz, he scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the win over Plymouth North. Also, junior quarterback Sean McCarthy got off to a pretty good start, completed 8 of 10 passes, 84 yards, and he had a nice 16-yard screen pass for a touchdown. Duxbury is one of those teams. They're ranked in the top 5, 5th by the Boston Globe. It's a team year in and year out that's always, you're talking about going to the playoffs, you're talking about winning a state title. So really, New Bedford's going to be in for a tough game. I know the Whalers have opened the season with 2 straight wins. They've outscored their opponents 70-33. But they're going to be in for a challenge against Duxbury's defense, which held Plymouth North to just 1 first down in that first half. The good news for New Bedford is the team showed its versatility on offense last week with a strong performance on the ground from Michael Ajoy. Like I said earlier, he had 110 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Also, Mike Raposa was solid through the air. He completed 10 passes and 154 yards and a touchdown. So really, if New Bedford's offense can move the ball and keep Duxbury off the field, New Bedford could win this game. But that's just it's a tall task to ask for the Whalers against Duxbury, which they haven't lost in 28 games. It's a nice streak.
I love the Dragons, right?
Yes.
Dragons are meant to be slayed. All right, so again, that's Duxbury at New Bedford, 1 o'clock on Saturday. The next game that we'll go back to Friday night to look at. Yep. Friday night at 7 o'clock because they just live in a mosquito-free zone.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about Dartmouth Stadium, but...
Yeah, they must have some kind of bubble or those fences that people have for dogs where...
Yeah, the electric fences.
They must have that for mosquitoes at Dartmouth High.
Well, we've got Boston College High coming down to Dartmouth.
Yes.
And
and it's not the Boston College that Sylvia is playing at, a former Dartmouth. It's actually the high school.
Right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're any less formidable.
Yeah, Boston College High, they're always tough every year. Like Duxbury, they're a team that everyone in the state looks to, as a powerhouse. And this year, even though Boston College High has opened the season 0-2, they're still a tough competition. They lost their first 2 losses. One was to Brockton, which, Brockton is much improved this year from last year when they had a subpar season. And then they also lost to North Attleboro, which is one of the best teams in the state. They lost to North Attleboro last week 27-20, or 27-7. And they've only scored one touchdown in their first 2 games, and it didn't even come on offense. It was on a Brandon Owens 40-yard interception return for a touchdown. So really, this is a time where Dartmouth, could come out with a win against BC High, traditionally a strong team, because the Eagles are fighting injuries. They did have a few costly turnovers last week, so they're not playing perfect football, and they don't have everybody there. So Dartmouth proved last week against a tough Attleboro team that even though they fell behind early, they ended up coming back in that game. They cut the Attleboro's lead to 28-20 in the third quarter, but Attleboro did, kind of close the door and had a touchdown late. The interesting thing from Dartmouth's game last week is Dalton Soares and Tim Smith split time under center last week. They both played at quarterback. So it's interesting to see Rick White kind of change things up a little bit. I know Mick Laranger had another big game. He scored a touchdown. Nick Simonetti had a 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So Dartmouth is having some of those big plays. It's just the consistency of whether or not they can move the chains and keep BC High off the field. That'll be the key to that game.
All right. Well, I remember when I was in high school, I found a BC High jacket.
Really?
Like somebody had left behind.
At a game?
No, I found it at my school at Wareham High.
That's weird.
And I found a BC High jacket left behind, and I wore it like everywhere I went, pretending that I went to BC High. I have no idea why I did it, but it was a very comfortable jacket.
Nice. I don't know what to say to that.
There's nothing to say to that.
Do you want to cover this game on Friday and wear it to it? Do you think it would still fit?
I don't think it'll fit anymore. I don't think I have it anymore.
Maybe you could give it to Dartmouth and they could throw darts at it or something.
That would work. If you need if you want to burn it in effigy or something, you can have it if I can find it. All right, so that is Boston College High at Dartmouth at 7 p.m. Maybe me wearing that jacket will curse BC High.
Maybe it will.
Right.
Now, one other thing about Dartmouth is Austin Williams did not play last week. He had a low ankle sprain. It's we're not sure yet whether or not he's going to be back this week. Most likely he's going to be out 1 more week. So.
All right. Well, let's go back to the Saturday action. East Bridgewater at Bishop Stang, a 10 o'clock game on Saturday. So you have a chance to catch a couple of football games if you want to on Saturday for sure.
Yep.
So East Bridgewater at Bishop Stang, 10 a.m. Spartan Village. And Bishop Stang needs to bounce back after last week.
Yeah, I mean, Bishop's saying even though the Spartans lost last week 21-20 to Old Rochester on the road, I mean, it was a huge improvement from week 1 when they lost, handedly to Dartmouth in the big rivalry game. The Spartans actually jumped out to a 14-0 lead against Old Rochester and really led most of the game and had that shot to win it at the end. Charlie McKeeman, led the attack late. They ended up scoring on a 5-yard run by him, and then with 6 seconds left, he went for the 2-point conversion attempt, and he was just stopped short of the goal line. So really, if you look at it like that, I mean, that's easily a win for them. It's a 1-point loss. So they have a lot of momentum coming in. Mike Pratt was solid, leading the offense. And like I said earlier, Luke Save, he completed a touchdown pass. So, they're trying to do a couple different things differently on offense, because I know against Dartmouth, it was just Charlie McKeeman most of the time, so that they switched things up a little bit. They'll need that this week against East Bridgewater. They haven't beaten East Bridgewater in their last 2 meetings. Last year, they lost 28-6 to East Bridgewater. East Bridgewater is coming off a 34-14 win over Hanover. Kevin Lynch, he ran for 1 touchdown. He returned an interception for a score, and then kicked a field goal in that game to help his team jump out to a 19-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. All 5 of East Bridgewater's touchdowns on offense came on the ground. James Shea, Will Venkus, and Andrew Benson each scored a rushing touchdown as well. So really, Stang has a lot of guys to kind of stop out of East Bridgewater, and it's going to be a tough challenge since it is a team that they face the last couple of years. They've had challenges going up against them, so Stang's going to have to play almost a perfect football game, I think, to beat East Bridgewater. But if you look at last week, I mean, look at what they did against Old Rochester. They were in the driver's seat for most of that game. So
I would definitely I'd pick them to win this week, I think.
Yeah, it'll be tough. I mean, especially too because they moved it from Friday night to Saturday morning. Sometimes when you have those 10 o'clock games Saturday morning, it could benefit them that they're home, and East Bridgewater is going to have to get up even earlier.
Yeah.
So getting off to that fast start is going to be key for the Spartans, I think, this week.
I think they've got this one.
Okay.
They've been building that momentum, so here we go.
Sounds good.
All right, and our last game of the week is also Saturday. It's at 1 p.m. It's Old Colony at Keefe Tech, and I don't know where Keefe Tech is, so I can't tell you that you could go to Bishop's and then go to Keefe Tech afterwards, 'cause I have no idea where it is.
No, I think you'd rather want to go to New Bedford High then, or go to Hull.
Yeah, that's probably, it's a 5-minute drive.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Keith Tech is either. But I know it is an opponent that Old Colony has beaten the last couple of years. So, I know last week, Old Colony, even though the Cougars lost to St. Clement, pretty bad, it was 43-20. It was much closer than the final score indicated. Kevin Blaze, which I love his last name, I'll say it every time I talk about him. He scored all 3 of Old Colony's touchdowns. 2 came on runs of 7 and 20 yards, and his 3rd touchdown came on a 56-yard screen pass from quarterback Jake Pringle. That was with 6 minutes left in the game. Blaze had 117 yards on 19 carries. I don't remember the last time we could really talk about an Old Colony running back that puts up those kind of numbers. So there's a lot of excitement going on. And really, Old Colony was in the game until the 3rd quarter when the Anchorman got a 79-yard punt return midway through the 3rd quarter, and then had an interception that they turned into a touchdown in the 4th quarter. So kind of some of those late touchdowns by St. Clement was really what cost Old Colony in that game, but the offense was there. It just was some of the special teams and defense. And Keefe Tech, in their first 2 games, they're 0-2, and they've managed to score just 18 combined points in those first 2 games. So a Cougars win, I can see it possible this week, especially if Blaze has another big performance.
Well, we have been able to locate Keefe Tech.
Nice.
Yes, Jonathan Comey's been able to find it through diligence, and so we're going to actually take you to Keefe Tech right now. You start way out here in the world, and
so it's that little A right there,
Yep.
Framingham, it looks like it says.
then watch this.
Where are we here? Oh, there we are down there.
So yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of like going to Hull, but it's to the west instead of the east. So it's far up there. If any fans are going from the area, please tweet us updates, scoring updates, or any photos, anything you want to share from the game. We'll retweet it at @SC_varsity on Twitter. So.
And also be sure to like us on Facebook, SouthCoastVarsity.com on Facebook.
Yeah, Tim has insecurities, so he likes it when you
please
like
like
it.
us.
Yeah, especially if you like the show, make sure you like the show too. The link.
Right, yes, please do, and share it, spread it around, make us like a rash that won't go away, infect all your friends. It's
To a triple E. In fact, okay.
it's like a rash I got from wearing that BC jacket.
Let me just say, I was at the Fairhaven game on Friday, and it was 7 o'clock at night. I would say by about 8 o'clock, I had like 10 mosquitoes, like all around my head. The guy that was announcing the game sitting over there, there was a mosquito on his face. I was just kind of like, oh, I guess they don't bite.
That's
But they don't have triple E, so.
That's the mascot. It's like, how like they bring out like a bulldog and they bring.
Oh, it's a mascot.
They have the mosquito because they're a pesky team.
Well, hopefully they'll be pesky this week
Let's
and
hope so.
get a win. So.
All right, I'm running out of lame humor for this week, so we should probably wrap it up. Remember, if you want to get a hold of us during the week, you can just email us sports@s-t.com. You can also tweet us, of course. You can find us on Facebook, and you can also use those telephone things too. Those still work. And until next week, we will see you under the lights.
And in the end zone.